fundamental struggle, throughout existence and nature, and you have an establishment and insurgency, like the old and the new, centralized, decentralized, and the yin and the yang, and there's a struggle that's going on all the time. And what I'm really interested in is how this plays out in the real world and then also in the new media. I just kind of took a little slide, last 20 years, from 1988 to, next year, 2008. And this really is very revealing about, democracy in our government. Okay, we have like George H. Bush, who was vice president 8 years under Reagan, and then he runs for president against Dukakis, and he wins. Well, that same year, there was another gentleman that ran against him as a libertarian. It was an insurgent, not part of the establishment, Republican or Democratic Party. And, we all knew who won that. That was George Bush, not Ron Paul. So within the next year, when George Bush Sr. ran again for his second term, well, he lost. He lost to who? Bill Clinton. Well, Bill Clinton, that the Republicans always throw this in our face, saying, well, Ross Perot was the spoiler. He took votes away from George Bush Sr., and that's why Bill Clinton became president. Well, then the next year, okay, we've got 96. I'm just this is like background, so you'll see how this relates in a minute. Well, okay, then the next year, 96. Okay, we have Bob Dole. He was the establishment, the good Republican, and he's running against Clinton. Well, Clinton won, but there was a couple interesting kind of insurgent campaigns happening at that time. One, we had Ralph Nader, with the Green Party. And we also have a Republican insurgent, who was still Republican, but he kind of ran against the establishment candidate, Bob Dole, and that was Pat Buchanan. Okay, well then the next 2000, we have, Al Gore, Bill Clinton's vice president, and George Bush Jr., and we have now Pat Buchanan. He leaves the Republican Party and joins the Reform Party, which was set up by Ross Perot, and we have Ralph Nader again. When he was the spoiler, he took votes away from Al Gore, so we have W became president. Well, then 2004, this is where it gets interesting, and this is what my study is going to be about. Okay, so we have Kerry, and we have this fellow right here, Howard Dean, and I put this little @ sign, to represent kind of the internet. This is where the internet really starts getting starts having an impact on politics in this country. Well, Kerry, of course, he didn't win. W won again. Well, now we got to this next year, 2008. And the Republican Party is still up for grabs. But what's interesting is Ron Paul, who was a libertarian, is now running as a Republican. And, we have Hillary Clinton, who is the wife of Bill Clinton. So, when you look at this, to me, we should really question. I want to get flipped. But, 20 years, we got two families running the country. Yeah. 300 million people in this country, we got two families running. Well, anyway, get off my soapbox. Okay. Now, but this is what I'm interested in, is how old media and new media and the influence, and how this is changing the political environment that we live in. Old media, we're looking at, Time, Newsweek, the New York Times, LA Times, the big networks, all them, and their influence is declining. Now, some of them are migrating to the new media, the internet, with different degrees of success. But what's really interesting is how the new media is going to impact this next election. And I think it's going to be very profound. And whether this next election is going to be, the real paradigm shift is going to happen or not, it's happening before our eyes. Really and truly, because things like you know, we don't have these gatekeepers anymore. You know, before, the New York Times, the LA Times, ABC, the networks, they decided who we were going to see and what, you know, we were going to see. Well, now, with the internet, I mean, we have like these social networking sites, like Meetup and Eventful, you know, MySpace, Facebook, you know, then we have like, people can make their own commercials, do their own propaganda with like YouTube, so we don't need these people here anymore. I mean, their impact is becoming less and less and less, and the internet is becoming more important, and especially as you know, the population, I mean, younger people are moving in, you know, into the political realm, and, you know, the older people are dying off. So, you know, I think we're, you know, we're like in the beginning of, you know, a revolution, like Trippy said. You know, the revolution will not be televised. I mean, it is happening right now, you know, in front of us. And I think that's, you know, it's kind of exciting, kind of interesting, because, you know, one of the things that, you know, people, what's interesting, if you follow the election right now, every candidate has an internet presence. They all have, you know, a MySpace page, they have like meetup groups and things like that, but they're trying to control it, they're trying to centralize it, we're trying to, you know, we're trying to use it. Whereas you have the one candidate, you know, Ron Paul, where basically his supporters are using those tools to support him, not the other way around. They're not, the candidate isn't using those tools to get support from the supporter. If that makes sense. Okay. That's what so what I'm going to do, my research on
democratizing the
democratic
process.
Exactly. It's becoming like we're going to have the choice and not gatekeepers. And so what I'm going to do, you know, the problem is I'm a year out. You know, we got another whole year for this thing to play out and see what happens. But I'm going to kind of focus on these things like, you know, MySpace, Facebook, Flickr, Eventful, Meetup, you know, YouTube, and how those relate to the political process.
So Tom, why can't you just use Howard Dean example?
His is incomplete. I mean, it just uses like the beginning. I mean, I could,
Yeah,
but I think it's way more exciting right now. For one thing, this fellow right here, YouTube. I mean, this is like, since like, you know, it's only been like a year or two, and it is so huge right now. I mean, we got millions of people that are going out there to YouTube, making their own commercials for their favorite candidates, and they're getting like, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions of viewers.
So if the internet democratizes the politics and information, why